So in the last video, we have seen the first three sections of API 570 code. We have seen the scope of API 570, which pipes are included, which pipes are not included, and something like that. We have also seen that what are some terms and definitions associated with API 570 examination and this code. Now we are going to go for section 4. Section 4 is going to be owner and inspection organization. So generally owner or user is basically someone who has the piping installed at their facility. It can be the owner of that facility itself, or they can be user of that piping system. Okay. So again, you have to understand one thing. This is one way of looking at things. So first we'll have to understand. So we have said that what is a repair organization. We have said what is an inspection organization or what is an authorized inspection agency. So there is a chance that the owner might have an own organization inspecting the piping systems, or the owner might hire someone else to do their inspection needs, to complete their inspection needs. But in that case, owner will not be relieved of his responsibilities, because at the end of the day, the owner is someone who is using the part. Owner is someone who is having the total control over the working capacity of a component, and they have the ultimate responsibility for it. Okay, so there are some things that the owner or user organization needs to have in compliance. Then the inspector or inspection agency will come in, and based on that data they will be doing some kind of inspection there. So generally an owner of a piping system shall exercise control of a piping system inspection program, inspection frequencies, and maintenance, and the owner and user is responsible for functions of an authorized inspection agency in accordance with the provision of API 570. The owner user inspection organization shall also control the activities related to rating, repair, alteration of its piping system. So it is on the discretion of the owner that which inspection agency he hires. So the ultimate responsibility of whatever the inspection agency does will lie on the owner or user who are hiring them for their job. Okay. Authorized piping inspector qualification, we already know who is an authorized piping inspector. An authorized piping inspector is someone who has qualification based on Annex A. Annex is basically someone who is completing the API 570 examination and have a valid certificate. So an authorized piping inspector shall have education experience in accordance with Annex A of this inspection code. The authorized piping inspector shall be certified in accordance with the provision of Annex A of this code. Whenever the term inspector is used in this document, it refers to the authorized piping inspector. Okay. So what are going to be the responsibility for owner and user organization? So first, responsibility, system and procedures. So owner user organization is responsible for developing, documenting, implementing, executing, and assessing the piping inspection system and inspection procedure that will meet the requirements of this code. So it is the responsibility of the owner or user organization to do all of these things, or the ultimate responsibility, they might outsource this to someone else, but the ultimate responsibility is going to be held by the owner or user of the piping system or the organization. So the responsibility lies in developing the plan, documenting the inspection, implementing the inspection, executing it, assessing the piping inspection systems and the inspection procedures that meets the requirement of this code. These system and procedure will be contained in a quality assurance inspection repair management system and shall include. So these are the general things that needs to be included in the quality assurance and repair management system. Obviously some more things are also required, but these are the recommendations given by ASME 570 code. So first is organization reporting structure for inspection personnel. So what kind of inspection reports you're going to make, what will be the format of that has to be provided by the owner or user organization, or they shall be finally responsible for it. Documenting and maintaining the inspection and quality assurance procedure, documenting and reporting inspection and test results, developing and documenting inspection plans, developing and documenting risk-based assessments, developing and documenting the appropriate inspection intervals, corrective actions for the inspection and test results, internal auditing for the compliance with quality assurance inspection manual, review and approval of drawings, design calculations, specification for repairs, alteration, re-ratings, and fitness for service assessments. Meeting that all the jurisdictional requirement for the piping system inspection, repair, and alteration are continuously being met. Reporting to the authorized piping inspector any process changes that could affect the piping integrity. Training the required training requirements for the inspection personnel regarding tools, techniques, and technical knowledge base. Control necessary so that only qualified welder and welding procedures are used for the repair and alterations. Control necessary so that only qualified NDE personnel and procedures are used. Controls necessary so that only materials conforming to applicable sections of ASME code are utilized for repair and alteration. Control necessary so that the inspection measurements and test equipments are properly maintained and calibrated. Control necessary so that the work of the contract inspection and repair organizations meet the same inspection requirement as the owner, user organization, and this inspection code. Internal auditing requirement for quality control system of pressure relieving devices. Control required to ensure that inspectors that have visual acuity necessary to perform their assigned inspection tasks. So these are some general details that an owner and a user organization shall be held responsible for. So these are just things to be read out. Okay. Now, inspection organization audits. So first of all, we have to understand that audit is going to be the big part of any inspection or any quality assurance program, because audit will tell you that everything is working fine as it is intended. Okay. So each owner, user organization should be audited periodically to determine if they are meeting the requirements of the authorized inspection agency as defined in this inspection code. The term audit should consist of a people experienced and competent in application of this code. The audit team should typically be from another owner, user, plant site, company central office, or from a third party organization experienced and competent in refinery or petrochemical process plant inspections, or a combination of third party and owner or user sites. So the person who are actively responsible for that piping system or the organization will not be auditing things. Audit will generally be done by someone else so that they don't have a bias. So it can be either a central organization, central office of the organization. It can be from a different plant that is not actively working in the same plant where the audit is going to happen. Or if this is not possible, they can hire a third party who will audit them, because they don't have bias towards any results. Okay. Following are the key elements of the inspection program that should be assessed by the audit team. Requirement and principle of this inspection code are met. Owner user responsibility are properly discharged. Document inspection plans are in place covering the piping systems. Interval extent of inspection are adequate for the covered piping systems. General types of inspection and surveillance are adequately applied. Inspection data analysis, evaluation, recording are adequate. Repairs, re-rating, and alteration complies with this code. The owner user should receive a report from the audit team scope and finding. After the review of report, all the non-conformances should be prioritized and corrective action should be implemented. So once this audit is done, the audit team is going to give audit report. After that audit report is received, there will be some non-conformances. Based on the priority of that non-conformances, some corrective actions are needed. Okay. Next is MOC procedures. MOC's procedure is basically, the full form of MOC is management of change. So if any change is happening, how it should be managed, that is management of change. This is also the responsibility of the organization. So if they are planning to change anything in the organization, then what should be the management regarding that change will be the MOC procedure. This can be any kind of change. This can be a cosmetic change. This can be a process related changes related to temperatures, pressures, or service condition, or anything like that. Okay. The owner user is also responsible for implementing an effective MOC procedure that will review and control changes to the process and to the hardware. An effective MOC procedure is vital to the success of the piping integrity management program, in order that inspection group is able to address the issues concerning the adequacy of the pressure design, current condition for the proposed changes, anticipate changes in corrosion and other types of damage mechanisms and their effects on the adequacy of the piping, pressure piping, update the inspection plan and the records for to account for these changes, that MOC brings out. The MOC procedure shall include appropriate materials, corrosion experience, and expertise in order to effectively forecast what changes might affect the piping integrity. Changes to the hardware and the process shall be included in MOC process to assure its effectiveness. Next is an integrity operating windows. We have already talked in some detail about what is an integrity operating window in our last video, but here again we are going to press on this topic. So, integrity operating windows, the owner user should implement and maintain an effective program for creating, establishing, and monitoring the integrity operating windows. Now, in the last video, I have given an example in the terms of temperature. So, the example was that if I have a piping system that is rated for working between 17 degrees Celsius to 200 degrees Celsius, this should be the working temperature range. So, this would be the integrity operating windows. This can be related to temperature as the example states. This can also be related to pressure. It can also be related to process parameters such as pH value, velocity of the flow. All of these things where the things are considered so that the pipe works in a known manner, integrity is maintained. So this will be considered as an integrity operating window. Sometimes there are chances that this integrity operating windows are breached. So those breaches or those exceedances in the integrity operating windows are to be documented, and these document of the integrity operating windows exceedances are to be provided to the inspector while the inspection is carried out, so that the inspector can modify the inspection plan as per the requirements or as per the IOW exceedances. Okay. The deviation from any changes of trends with the established IOW limit should be brought to the attention to the inspection engineering personnel. So they may modify or create a new inspection plan depending on the seriousness of the accidents. Okay, so let's imagine if you have a maximum allowable working pressure of 200 psi, anything that goes beyond 200 psi will cause for some additional inspection to assess that the piping is safe or not, that IOW accidents is some damage or not. Okay. The integrity operating window should be established for process parameter, both physical and chemical, that could impact the equipment's integrity if not properly controlled. Examples of the process parameter include temperature, pressure, fluid velocity, pH, flow rates, chemical or water injection rates, level of corrosive or erosive constituents, chemical composition, etc. IOWs for key process parameters may have both upper and lower limit. So in the temperature example, I have given that the lowest temperature was 17 degrees Celsius, the highest temperature is 200 degrees Celsius. So I also have a lower shelf limit, I also have an upper shelf limit. So this can be possible. Sometimes you'll just have an upper shelf limit, so it depends. Particular attention to monitoring integrity operating windows should be provided during startup, shutdown, and significant process upsets. API 584 gives additional information on development of IOW programs. So, effective IOW program will be made as per the requirements given in API 584. Okay. Next is piping engineer. Piping engineer is different from the piping inspector. Inspector is just an inspector who will inspect the part as per the requirements of API 570. The engineer might be an owner or user organization's engineer who is going to be involved in the design, engineering review, rating, analysis and evaluation of the piping systems, as well as the pressure relieving devices as covered by API 570 specified within this code. Next is repair organization. We have also seen what is a repair organization in the definition. So all the repair and alteration shall be performed by a repair organization as defined in section 3. The repair organization shall be responsible to the owner user and shall provide material, equipment, quality control, workmanship necessary to maintain and repair the piping system in accordance with the requirements of API 570. Next is an authorized piping inspector. We have also seen what is an authorized piping inspector in section 3 definitions. So when the inspections, repair, alteration are being conducted on a piping system, the designated authorized piping inspector shall be responsible to the owner user for determining the requirements of API 570 on the inspection, examination, quality assurance and the testing are being met. So you understand one thing, whatever inspection that is happening on a piping system, it has to be under, or API 570 would be responsible. But if the API 570 inspector is working good or not, or if he is competent or not, that will be the responsibility of the owner user who is hiring him. Okay. When the non-conformances are discovered, the designated inspector is responsible for notifying the owner user in a timely manner and make appropriate repair or other mitigative recommendations. So the inspector will inform the owner or user organization that these are the problems or non-conformances discovered. So the owner and user organization may make some modifications or may make some repairs necessary depending on how serious the non-conformances are. The inspector shall be knowledgeable with the piping systems damage that are listed in API 571, contents of API 574, that is inspection practices for pressure piping, 576, that is inspection of pressure relieving devices, 577 is welding inspection and metallurgy, 578 is material verification program for new and existing alloy systems, 583, 584, and also knowledgeable with 580 where RBI is in use. Okay. 583 is corrosion under insulation and 584 is IOW exceedances. The inspector shall be able to use guidance contained within this recommended practices in order to meet the requirements or expectation in this code. The authorized piping inspector may be assisted in performing visual examinations by properly trained individuals who are qualified, who may or may not be a certified piping inspector. That means the inspector might have a team that will help the inspector in things which he might not be able to do or he might not be knowledgeable enough. So in the simple terms, the inspector may know what kind of non-destructive testing are to be performed, but he might not be a certified non-destructive testing personnel. So he might bring out some certified non-destructive personnel to do the inspection part of the things, but the ultimate responsibility if the inspection is going to happen properly or not, or if the inspection is executed properly or not, is going to be retained by the authorized piping inspector. So he may use qualified individuals who may not be a certified piping inspector, that is examiners and operating personnel. Personnel performing ND shall meet the requirements of 435 but need not be authorized piping inspectors. However, all the examination results shall be evaluated and accepted by the authorized piping inspector. So we already know who is an authorized piping inspector. Examiners. Understand one thing. In this document, wherever the term inspector is used, it is an authorized piping inspector. And whenever the term examiner are used, he is a qualified NDE personnel. Okay. So whenever examiner it is an NDT technician. Whenever the inspector is there, it is an authorized piping inspector. So the examiner shall perform non-destructive testing in accordance with the job requirements. The examiner examiner is not certified to in accordance with Annex A, so he may not be authorized piping inspector, and does not need not be an employee of the owner or user organization. But whoever is the non-destructive testing personnel, he should be able to do that non-destructive testing, and that proof is going to happen with some kind of certification endorsement. So non-destructive testing person shall have either of these certifications, ASNT SNTTC 1A, ASNT CP 189 or AWS QC 1. Okay, so examples of other certification may be required is these certifications. The inspectors conducting their own examination with NDE technique shall also be properly qualified in accordance with the owner user requirements and appropriate industry standards. The examiners employ shall maintain certification records of the examinations or of the examiners employed, including the dates, results of personal qualification, and these records are available to the inspector, so the inspector can make sure that whoever is working in the non-destructive testing has the appropriate certification and they are qualified to do the work they are assigned. Other personnels that may help the inspector in the inspections are going to be operating, maintenance and engineering, or other personnel who may have special knowledge or experience related to particular piping system shall be responsible for timely notification to the inspector or engineer of the issues that may affect the piping integrity, such as following: any action that requires management of change or the inspection activity as a result of MOC, operations outside the defined integrity operating windows, changes in the source of feedstock, and other process fluids that could increase the process related corrosion rates or introduce new damage mechanisms. Piping failure, repair actions conducted, and failure analysis reports. Cleaning and decontamination methods used, or other maintenance procedures that could affect the piping equipment integrity. Reports from other plant experiences that may have come to their attention regarding the similar service piping and associated equipment failures. So what is this similar service? We'll talk about it in great detail further. Okay. Any unusual conditions that may develop: noise, leaks, vibration, insulation damage, external piping deterioration, support structure deterioration, and significant bolting corrosion, etc. Any engineering evaluation, including fitness for service assessment, that might require current or future actions to maintain the piping integrity until the next inspection. So, in this video we have seen that what are some responsibility regarding to the owner and user organizations. In the next video, we are going to see how inspection, examination and testing practices are carried out as per the requirements of API 570. Okay, so this was a pretty easy sections. We just need to understand what is the owner. When you apply some common sense, it is very easy to understand. But the next part, the section 5, 6 and 7 are going to be more important when we are talking about API 570 examinations. Okay, so let's look at next video. In the next video, we'll go ahead with the inspection and examinations for the piping system. Thank you.